After losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics, it's time to have an honest conversation about the New York Knicks. What's up? It's your boy Dariel. Look at the dedication, bro. The dedication straight from work, still in work attire, giving you guys this video. But I hate to be the bearer of bad news, guys, but yo, we gotta have a talk about the Knicks, man. So listen, after losing against Cleveland, and then after another loss going up against the Boston Celtics, I think it's time, as far as the Knicks fandom, as far as being a huge Knicks fan, and with all the moves the Knicks made for Cat, for Mikal Bridges, and the excitement with OG Anunoby, I think it's time to put our fandom to the side and have a real conversation as far as like the ceiling of this team. Now, on Friday, I think it was before the Cleveland Cavaliers game, ESPN, they put out this post saying that we're 0-6 against Boston, Cleveland, and OKC. And then I believe the next post was earlier today where they doubled down, and the Knicks have an 0-4 record this season versus the Celtics and the Cavs. The Boston Celtics yesterday, it seemed like they just don't care about us. It seems like they know that they have our number. And the Boston Celtics, 100%, is the worst matchup for us. But between Boston and the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm a little bit more confident in going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers rather than Boston Celtics. The Cleveland Cavaliers are the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics are number two, and we're at number three. I would much rather see the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round or even in the Eastern Conference Finals if Boston somehow does not make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Because when you take a look at Cleveland, yes, they've been having an amazing regular season. They've been taking the league by storm. So many of these NBA talking head shows, a lot of the segments are talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers and how nobody believes them and how this year it could be really different. But me personally, before the DeAndre Hunter and Javante Green pickup, I was kind of like, okay, cool. You're being led by Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley going up against the Knicks 2 seasons ago, where we embarrassed them in the first round, and again being led by Donovan Mitchell team. Donovan Mitchell being the best player on your team. Look at his track record. All those years with Utah, he was only able to get past the first round once. I think that was his rookie year. And then ever since then, it was first round exit after first round exit. Great regular season run. And then in the playoffs, it was a huge disappointment. And then you get into the whole Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, Ty Jerome. Am I really trusting those guys going into the postseason? The regular season that's great. The numbers that you can throw at me, that's all great. But in the postseason, it's a different game. The physicality goes up, the intensity ramps up, the defensive schemes ramp up. Whoever you're facing in the first round of the playoffs, they have days. They have days to scout you, to scout your individual players, to scout the offensive schemes that you guys are running, to scout who has what weakness and who can we exploit. Who can we hunt? Who can we hunt and try and get into switches on the defensive end? In the playoffs, it's different. And if you're telling me that Ty Jerome, Dean Wade, and Sam Merrill are gonna be pillars of your team, I'm definitely off that. But then the Cleveland Cavaliers at the trade deadline, they make a move for DeAndre Hunter, and then they make a move for Javante Green. I'm just saying that I'm a little bit more confident going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the postseason. But with the addition of DeAndre Hunter, with the addition of Javante Green, and seeing how we're looking so far, I would be a little worried. I'll definitely take the Knicks beating the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I do not think it'll be what we won. We won in 5 games or we won in 6 games. I think it was 5. It was like 2 seasons ago, and it was the first round. And, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're like so much in the back of my mind that I kind of forgot what that series went. I believe it was 5, but it's not going to be a 5-gamer this time around. Whenever we see them, if we see them. The second round in the Eastern Conference Finals, this time around, it might even go to 7. It might even go to 7, but I still think we could pull it out. But the Boston Celtics, man, they are the absolute worst matchup for us. The worst. when you take a look at some of the weaknesses that Jalen Brunson has, he has trouble when he has bigger players guarding him. When they're bigger, when they're stronger, when they're a little bit faster, when they're a little bit more athletic. And look at the Boston Celtics starting five. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis at the five. Not really much him, but Drew, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. All of those guys, primarily Derek White and Drew Holiday, they're going to be assigned to Jalen Brunson. And all of those guys, they're either a little bit bigger, they're a little bit stronger, they're a little bit faster, they're a little bit more athletic. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, automatic height and size. Derek White and Drew Holiday, the one thing that they have against Jalen Brunson is Drew Holiday 100% is known as a defensive player. He's known as one of the better defensive players in the league, perimeter defenders. The only thing that kind of like he's not in the forefront of that conversation anymore is because of his age, but he's still in the conversation. When you have those bodies that the Boston Celtics can throw at you, really making life tough for Jalen Brunson. And I'm not even talking about Cat yet. Let's start talking about Cat. Let's start hunting Cat on defense, making Cat switch from guarding Al Horford to Kristaps Porzingis, guarding Jason Tatum, guarding Jaylen Brown, guarding Drew, Derek. Sam Pritchard, the sixth man off the bench, who's probably going to win sixth man of the year. Sam Pritchard, Al Horford coming up to the top of the key, running a pick and roll with Sam Pritchard. Let's get Cat in that switch real quick. Sam Pritchard at the top of the key, breaking Cat down or hitting a step back three. Sam Pritchard, I think it's kind of a lock that he's going to win sixth man of the year. Just his progression has been insane. You could kind of see it last year that this guy has a lot of confidence, but this year the confidence level has just went through the roof. So I talked to you guys about the defensive schemes that the Boston Celtics can throw at us if we see them in the playoffs. But now let's talk about the actual depth. I already told you about the starting five. And I should mention how the Boston Celtics, they average around 48 3-point attempts, close to 50 a game. I just mentioned Sam Pritchard being their sixth man, who's probably going to win sixth man of the year. Who's our sixth man? Mitchell Robinson coming back to the lineup. Maybe Josh Hart goes to the bench. Okay, so Josh Hart will be our sixth man. He doesn't have the offensive repertoire that Sam Pritchard has. Yeah, he might be able to add a little bit more on the defensive end than Sam Pritchard, but we're going to be relying on Josh Hart if he goes to the six-man role, if he goes to the bench whenever Mitchell Robinson comes back, and if Coach Tibbs inserts him into the starting lineup. There's just a lot of questions, man. And then again, Mitchell Robinson being brought back into the lineup whenever he's able to play, it'll help some things out. It'll help relieve some of the pressure off of Cat's shoulders being the starting five, all that foul trouble. It'll relieve some of that pressure. But Mitchell Robinson being inserted into the starting lineup or the lineup is not gonna fix some of these problems that Jalen Brunson is gonna have whenever we're facing up against the Boston Celtics. It's not gonna fix Cat's problem on the switches on the defensive end. Mitchell Robinson is really gonna help with the altering shots, on cleaning up the glass, on blocking shots. It's gonna help more on that realm. But as far as like personnel and the defensive schemes, specifically going up against Boston, I don't think it's really going to help that much. So there's just a lot of questions, man. There's a lot of questions that I have, especially after watching those two losses against the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday, where we got blown out, and then Boston on Sunday, where it was a blowout up until we were able to cut it. I believe the lowest was 4. The closest was to 4 points. And yeah, I don't know, man. I think the expectations of this year, I have always been saying that I at least want to see an Eastern Conference Finals appearance this year with all the acquisitions that we made. And obviously, Mikal Bridges, the 5 first-round picks. But that's another question. The Mikal Bridges inconsistency. There are times in the game where you just completely forget that Mikal Bridges is out there. And we give up 5 first-round picks. We give up Bogdanovich. And Mikal Bridges, we forget that you're out there on the floor. We need you to, I've said this in countless solo videos, that we need you to average anywhere between 18 to 25 points. And your inconsistencies this season is just, I just don't know if he's ever going to figure it out. The loss against Boston on Sunday, that was only the 3rd game after the All-Star break. And the Knicks have anywhere between 25 to 30 games remaining. So Mikal Bridges does have enough time to figure it out. But if we go into the playoffs with Mikal Bridges' inconsistencies and all of these other questions that are brought up throughout this video, I'm not sure exactly if that Eastern Conference Finals appearance is actually going to happen. There's a couple things that we're going to need to happen. Boston Celtics are going to have to implode. And if we in the Cleveland Cavaliers, if we see them in the Eastern Conference Finals, again, the Cleveland Cavaliers, I would much rather go up against them rather than the Boston Celtics. But even going up against Cleveland, I'm just not as comfortable as I was in the beginning of this season, prior to the DeAndre Hunter and Javonte Green pickup. So I hate to come onto this video, man, and be a little sad, but there's a clear tier in the Eastern Conference. And before the back-to-back loss going up against Cleveland and Boston, I was kind of like, yo, the Knicks need to be in that tier with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, granted, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they haven't proved it in the playoffs, even though they're having a great season. Okay, if you want to put them in the Boston Celtics first tier, that's cool. But again, they haven't proven in the playoffs, so I would welcome that argument. But for now, I think based on the regular season, strictly on the regular season, I think it's okay if you put Cleveland in that first tier. So Cleveland and Boston are in tier 1. And I was always the one, like, Knicks need to be in that tier. They'll probably be the third team in that tier, but they're at least in that tier. And now after the back-to-back losses against Cleveland and Boston, I'm just like, no, man. Cleveland and Boston, they're their own tier. And then the Knicks might be the first team in that second tier. The Knicks, I don't think we belong in that first tier. We're definitely the first team in that second tier. And then the team right after us would probably be Milwaukee. That's where I'm at right now, man. So I just wanted to come on here, give my thoughts, and have this kind of stream of consciousness. And I wasn't able to get a post game in after the Boston game. So I definitely wanted to give you my thoughts on where the team lies right now and all that good stuff. But until next time, you guys know the drill. You guys know the vibes. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. The deuce is loose for co-MVP. OG Anunoby, you did have a speedy recovery. I'm glad to see you out there on the court. But now it's time to turn up. And I'm also talking to you, Mikal Bridges. And last but not least, Taj Gibson for president. But you guys know the drill. It's Mr. New York, Mr. Queens. Queens get the money. Queens get the money long time, no cash. Queens forever. And I'm out. Peace.